Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, prepare your ear holes for the best wrestling podcast, the hard-hitting wrestling show.
Here's the recap on what happened on SmackDown and Raw. On SmackDown, Daniel Bryan defeated King Corbin by disqualification. Corbin threw the steel ladder at Bryan that led to a DQ. Sheamus defeated Leon Ruff in a short time and will seek Jeff Hardy on the next episode. Carmella qualified for Money in the Bank ladder match. Sonya Deville distracted Mandy Rose, allowing Carmella to take advantage. The Forgotten Sons may have been forgotten in NXT, but are making loud noises in the SmackDown Tag Team division. They defeated the Tag Team Champions, The New Day, and Otis defeated Dolph Ziggler, securing the last bout of SmackDown for Money in the Bank. On Raw, Zelina Vega and her crew crashed the MVP's VIP lounge, forcing a six-man tag team match. Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black, and Apollo Crews defeated Andrade, Angel Garza, and Austin Theory. Nia Jax bashed Asuka and Shayna Baszler with the ladder. The three will participate in the Money in the Bank. Bobby Lashley told Lana to stand down as he went solo and defeated Denzel DeJournette. Liv Morgan defeated Ruby Riott for the second straight week and is eyeing on the big prize. And that prize is Becky Lynch's Raw Women's Championship. Jinder Mahal returns to Raw after nearly a year and demolished Akira Tozawa. Apollo Crews took himself out of the Money in the Bank ladder match after injuring his left knee versus Andrade during the United States Championship match. The Two Fly Crew, Ricochet and Cedric Alexander defeated NXT Everrise, and for the close, Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins signed their contract for a championship match at Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Afterwards, Drew smashed Rollins' face on the table and dropped Buddy Murphy with a Claymore. And that is the recap of SmackDown and Raw.
And there you have it. All the updates from SmackDown and Raw. And this Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern time, we will be back on live on Facebook and on Twitter, and of course on YouTube, as we discuss and make our predictions for Money in the Bank that will be held this Sunday, May 10th at Stamford, Connecticut. That's right. The corporate ladder match will be held at Stamford, Connecticut. Whether it's taped or live, whatever case may be, they'll be at the WWE headquarters, and we'll be determining who will win on the men's and on the women's. And of course, there's a lineup ready to establish for this week, as this is the last week for their promo to get us all hooked up for the WWE Network to watch Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And now back to our show, the hashtag Mania Challenge 2020, with my guest and our host, Tyler Bard.
Hey.
What's going on, Tyler? How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? I'm ready to go.
You're ready to go. Hey, me too. We'll see. We also have Hector Vasquez.
What's up, guys?
All right. Tuning in. And lastly, but foremost, the MVP of our show, Frank Cuesta.
What's up, guys? I'm here.
Yes. You're definitely here.
We're not worthy.
But hey, before we start making our picks, let's have everybody, let's see where we're at right now as we're focusing on the Midwest and, the South and the West. As we move over here, we'll be discussing Triple H versus Booker T, Dolph Ziggler versus The Undertaker, Rey Mysterio versus Christian, and Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. And once we finish that, we'll head over to the West, which is Chris Jericho versus CM Punk, Seth Rollins versus The Warrior. That's right, the Ultimate Warrior. Chris Benoit versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And lastly, Mick Foley versus The Miz. So quite interesting. A lot of some dream matches. Some matches have already established in the past. But hey, we're here. We'll knock it off. We'll start with Tyler Bard. with our South Triple H versus Booker T. Swing it away, my friend.
Great round to start with. Absolutely. Triple H versus Booker T, two absolute legends in the wrestling business. I'll just name off a few Triple H's accomplishments. He's the unified WWE Tag Team Championship with Shawn Michaels, Heavyweight Championship 5 times, WWE/WWF Champion 9 times, Intercontinental Champion 5 times, European Tag, King of the Ring, Royal Rumble. This guy has done basically everything that you can do inside the WWE realm. Now he is a executive for the WWE. So that's ultimate trust from Vince McMahon to bring this man into a big role in the company. Not to take anything away from Booker T. He's an incredible champion, WCW champion, World Heavyweight Championship 1 time, Intercontinental Champion 1 time, Hardcore Champion 1 time, WWF World Tag Team Championship 3 times, WCW Tag Team Champion 1 time, King of the Ring, King Booker, one of the best gimmicks that we've seen in a long time. But as good as Booker T's list is, it just doesn't stand up to Triple H. Triple H is much more of a much higher caliber player than Booker T could have ever been, strictly based off of his ability. He's just one more. He's an executive in the company, and I think he's just a better presence in the ring. So
Yeah,
Triple H.
There, I really do. His presence just has all the fans stand up, man. Once that first tone of that music of his entrance, no matter if it's the regular show, whether it's a pay-per-view event, and one of the best, and we could argue about the best introduction in WrestleMania entrances. But yeah, I agree with you there. Triple H, between him and Booker T, 3-1 while they were in the WWF. After post WWF to the WWE, Triple H is 3-0 with a victory, especially as a world champion. And I think they only had 1 disqualification match. So I also picked Triple H. Pass the torch to Frank, who's standing by with his stats to let us know exactly where we at when it comes to all-time wins.
Hey, look, it's Triple H. There's no all-time wins on this one. He's been 25 years with the company, But
yeah,
I mean, it's him. Tyler put it out there. Everything he's done compared to Booker's. They're both great athletes, but the son-in-law of Vince McMahon takes it.
Okay. Last words, Hector?
Hey, y'all covered everything. To me, I think Triple H was just the better in-ring performer. From the time he came into the WWE, it was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. So now, so there's really nothing more to add to it. Triple H, hands down. So
yeah,
can you take that, sucker?
When you talk about in-ring performance, there's always one that thinks that they deserve to be the best in-ring performers, and that is Dolph Ziggler, who always claims that he is the best at what he does. But he found himself in a situation where he's now facing The Undertaker.
Yeah, so you talk too much there, Dolphy boy.
Where do you see on this? Is it worse than having that Taker and AJ Styles match in WrestleMania?
I think this is worse. I mean, Dolph Ziggler has the potential to be one of the greatest, down the line in the future, I think. But matching up against The Undertaker and all the accolades The Undertaker has, I mean, there's hands down. I mean, there's no way I can even go on with this. I mean, The Undertaker hands down got Dolph Ziggler in this. I mean, Ziggler is somewhat of a decorated champion. Don't get me wrong, and he's accomplished quite a bit in the young career that he has, and he has a lot to go. He has a future, but right now The Undertaker is just so dominant over him. In every category, in stats and everything, in ring performance, everything. So I got The Undertaker on this one.
Right. I think Tyler and Frank could agree more, unless y'all want to argue that point.
But there's no argument here.
Okay. You can't beat the dead man. Come on.
Here's a trivia question for you. When was the only time Dolph Ziggler and Undertaker were in the same ring?
Was it Survivor Series?
Not Survivor Series. In the same ring.
In the same way, I would think the Royal Rumble.
And probably a Royal Rumble.
Yes, the Royal Rumble it is. So, 2 Royal Rumble appearances in 2009 and 2017. Both times, Randy Orton won the Royal Rumbles.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I had to dig my research, go through it to make sure. But in the WWE, 2009 and 2017 were the only times that Ziggler and Undertaker were in the same ring, all right, during the Royal Rumbles, and both those times Randy Orton was victorious. So,
Wow.
duly noted on this one. And we'll move on to former Royal Rumble winner and soon to be in the Money in the Bank on May 10th is Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio faces Christian. So, Frank, I'll take it on to you. Who was your vote on this one?
Oh, dude, hands down, Rey Mysterio on this one. You know, you're looking at, number one, the years he's been in. Everything he's done. He's He's been a heavyweight champion twice, WWE champion 1 time, cruiserweight 3 times, intercontinental champion twice. He's a 4-time tag team champion, and a 2-time United States champion. Plus, he won the Royal Rumble in 2006. So, I mean, compared to Christian, I say Rey Mysterio.
Okay. All right. So, Tyler, you got anything to add on to this?
Yeah, I go back to what I said about Ray the first time. Ray is one of the main reasons I became a fan of WWE. He's one of my favorite people to watch perform in ring. Even today, I met him in person. He's a great guy. Just one of the most charismatic people. I think if The Rock hadn't claimed the title of the People's Champion, the Rey Mysterio may have been able to do that in the early 2000s. One of the most loved guys. He had great matches with Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Chavo Guerrero, Batista. He could put it on with the best of them when he's half the size of all those guys. So I think it's a pretty easy win for Rey Mysterio here over Captain Charisma.
Is it that easy, Hector?
Yeah, it is, because even when you match up them two, match for match, singles matches, Rey Mysterio owns Christian head to head. You know what I'm saying? So whether it be a Monday Night Raw, whether it be a taping, it doesn't matter. Rey Mysterio owns Christian. Rey Mysterio is a Grand Slam champion. He's a Triple Crown winner. He's a big superstar in a little man's body. I mean, this guy is just Mr. 619, and he got my vote.
But what happens if Christian will tell you, hey, give me one more chance?
One more chance to get your ass kicked is fine with me.
One more 619. Dial it up.
All right. Yeah, and I agree with you. Every single one of y'all made some valid points. Rey Mysterio all the way. Granted that the only decision why I made Rey Mysterio because of head-to-head that Rey does have one. He's one up on Christian on that one. So Rey Mysterio advances to the Sweet 16. And that leads us to our last match for the South is Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. Now, in my opinion, I feel as though this is going to be a valid argument here.
Me too.
I know I tried to tease it with Tyler earlier before the show.
I knew it. I knew it was this one. I knew it was this one.
So I'm going to start off real quick on this, and I'm going to explain to you that Randy Orton cashed in the Money in the Bank at SummerSlam in 2013 because of Triple H. Okay? If you forgot or trying to remember, back at SummerSlam 2013, Bryan defeated John Cena, and this is almost the way to where Cena was trying to distance himself away from WWE. So he was part of that transition, and that's why in Cena's favor, Cena always said the champion is always there to give everybody an opportunity. So there you have it. He won, and Triple H ended up doing the pedigree on Bryan, called over Randy Orton, and that's what happened. Bryan is famously known for winning WrestleMania 30. Everybody understands and seen the Yes movement. And if those that didn't see it, they had a chance to see it on ESPN before WrestleMania, WrestleMania 36. So, hey, he defeated Triple H and then went on a triple threat match versus Bautista and Orton to win the WWE Championship. We could go on and say that Bryan and Orton met 93 times in their careers, okay, in various scenarios, okay? And yes, that is also including dark matches. I mean, you're talking about the fatal 5-way, the 4-way, the triple threat matches, you know, one-on-one to so many disqualifications in between. Head-to-head, Bryan had won 22 wins, 9 losses, 3 no contests, and 8 disqualifications. And with all that's been said, my vote, yes, Daniel Bryan. Now, I'm not even going to go ask Tyler anything. I'm going to leave Tyler for last. Okay? Not even going to go there. Frank, I already talked to you about them stats. So,
look at that face, though. Look at that face he's making, though. Look at that face he's making. That's the face.
Or you're going to give me the 3 famous letters and the wrestling community business, and are you going to let me have it?
Oh. It's RKO, baby.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. I picked Randy Orton on this one. I mean, I compared what they've both done. They're very equally matched. You know, so it's a hard choice, but I am more of a fan of RKO than Daniel Bryan. You know, I like the yes movement. Good, you know, good job, little guy, you know, but RKO, let's go all the way, baby.
Are you serious? You're going to call him little guy?
Yes, sir.
That was rude.
The duration of the time that everyone was picking on him because he was supposed to be a B+ wrestler.
Right.
To show everybody that he was A+, one of the best superstars. I mean, this is the guy that went from being with no hair, no facial hair, to growing the beard, all right, to proving everybody wrong, to change his gimmick to become the planet savior, okay, making everybody else around him better, and you're still going to do that. You're still going to choose him.
Yes.
And if everything that I just said right now, you're still choosing Daniel Bryan.
You're not
Jason. That convinced you. Okay.
No, you haven't convinced me.
All right, Hector, come on.
Under the current format that we got going on, Daniel Bryan is the 6th Grand Slam champion. Okay, this man, to me, is more decorated than Randy Orton. The only thing Randy Orton got over Daniel Bryan, in my opinion, is the championship titles that he's won, because he's only 3rd behind Triple H and John Cena, from what I understand. And I'm happy that Randy Orton became a Grand Slam champion. You know, he's a Money in the Bank winner. He's a Royal Rumble winner. But again, you know, you go back to the head-to-head competitions, whether it be dark matches, pay-per-view matches, Daniel Bryan owns Randy Orton. I take nothing away from Randy Orton. I love the guy. You know, he's one of the ones that you can say he's in the top 5 as far as playing the heel role. Very, very great. You know what I'm saying? And just like Shawn Michaels with that finishing move, the RKO is probably the most dangerous finishing move in the WWE, you know, where he can catch you out of nowhere, whether top rope, bottom rope, underneath the ring, outside the ring, he can catch you anywhere. But we talk about Daniel Bryan here. This guy comes up, you know, from what was it, Tough Enough or whatever that show was, to now.
NXT.
You know, yeah, so, you know,
the original NXT.
Right. And so he's so decorated, and he owns Randy Orton. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but I give it to Daniel Bryan. He owns Randy Orton. As good as Randy Orton is, Daniel Bryan takes this one.
All right, here we go. So this is the one I was very undecided about coming into this. And I was literally even, because I love both superstars on an even playing field. And I actually went to my other wrestling friends for help on this one, because I didn't know what to do here, because I love both of them. And it came down to this. Both of them know how to command a crowd. Randy's one of the greatest heels of all time. Daniel Bryan's one of the greatest faces of all time. You could almost say that Daniel Bryan's yes movement is as compelling and as loved as The Rock's movement as the People's Champion. He had so much support behind him. And on top of it, he has an incredible record over Randy Orton. So, with that being said, my friend Noah Cross convinced me that Daniel Bryan is moving on to the next round. The yes movement lives on.
All right. So what we got going on here is
Frank quit.
Triple H. Yeah. He'll be all right. He'll make it back. Triple H versus The Undertaker and Rey Mysterio versus Daniel Bryan. That's going to be an interesting conversation for our next episode of the Hard Hittin' Wrestling Show. But let's move on and finish off the second round to see who are our last four legend or superstar that will make it to the Sweet 16. As I mentioned, Chris Jericho versus CM Punk, Seth Rollins versus The Ultimate Warrior, Chris Benoit versus Steve Austin, and Mick Foley versus The Miz. Before we get there, I wanted to say that, wow, I thought that last match was going to be have some type of longevity because, I mean, you can look at it at so many angles.
For sure.
If you could see it in one way, it could favor Randy Orton. If you see it the other, like we just discussed, is Daniel Bryan. But we all agreed head to head, the way the storyline was built, it was built that Daniel Bryan was more achievable than Randy Orton, even though Randy Orton is the 13th-time world champion, who is technically third on almost all the world champs behind Ric Flair / Cena and Triple H. But the other person that is very famous for being the undisputed champion is no other than Y2J Chris Jericho, and the voices of voices to let everybody hear CM Punk. This is very, very hard. Very hard.
I don't know.
In some cases, it's almost as similar to Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. But, okay, let's hear your side of the vote. And Tyler, let's lead it off since you're real tuned and you're saying this is an easy choice. Let us hear.
I love both of them. They're great wrestlers. They've done a lot for WWE, respectively. But Chris Jericho is, in my opinion, in the top 3 wrestlers that have ever graced the ring. Chris Jericho is amazing on the mic. He never needed to be the most technical wrestler, but he was great in the ring. And he was a great tag team wrestler, multi-time champion. I mean, there's no one who can command an audience to listen as much as Chris Jericho can. That guy, it doesn't matter if he's a face. It doesn't matter if he's a heel. It doesn't matter if he's indifferent. Like the time where he returned and came out to the ring and did nothing for about 2 months, and people were still like, yes. They were still cheering for him because it's Chris Jericho, and that's incredible. No one else could get away with that. They tried to do it with Dolph Ziggler, and everyone hated it. So Chris Jericho, man. And now I did look into their championships. They have a similar path to championships. Punk has a bunch of championships and a bunch of Slammy Awards. Chris Jericho has a bunch of championships and a bunch of Slammy Awards. So they're both loved by the fans and the business combined. But I had to go one step further. Chris Jericho has now helped create a new wrestling business, and he was the very first champion in AEW. That's incredible. When there's all this young talent, they give it to this guy to be the flagship to put over all these new guys. And that's why Chris Jericho is great. He knows he's no longer the best horse, but he is willing to put all this young talent over. So for me, Chris Jericho, one of the best workhorses in WWE and AEW and WWF history, takes this win.
I was gonna have Hector's go after you, but I have to intervene here. Chris Jericho is the man, and he is by far the all-time Hall of Famer. Then, if there was a wrestling pure, I think he will be number one on the list because of the stuff he has done in Japan, the stuff he is doing now in AEW, and all the success he has done in WCW and WWE.
Yeah.
But let me correct you here on him being the AEW champion. He's the first AEW champion because he is known, not because he is the best or whatever it is. If you're going to sell a product, you're not going to sell a product by giving it to a person that people in America don't know who he is because the person's been in independent wrestling for so long. You want somebody that's already been on television, that's already made famous. You want to put that guy there and then have the young try to take over, and that's how you run that business. So,
and that's what I meant by that.
All right. Okay. But I'm not discrediting anything else of Chris Jericho because, hey, he is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But then you talking about, the mic, whether you're heel or you're kayfabe, babyface, whatever category it is. CM Punk is the same way. CM Punk started, he was a former ECW champion. Okay. Yeah, he's been in a little weak gimmicks because that's what the company wanted him to do until he broke out of that shell and said, hey, I'm going to do me. And he made a bold statement till this day. And I'm surprised, Tyler, you didn't mention it because you mentioned it last time when we had CM Punk winning that, hey, he doesn't even have to be in WWE when the fans are still chanting his name.
No, that's true.
All right. So head to head, Chris Jericho and CM Punk. Punk defeated Chris Jericho 24-5 head to head. Okay. 24-5. Now,
okay.
that speaks a lot, especially, again, yes, granted, for the gimmicks that they do, whether it's the shows. I mean, the only advantage he has is that Chris Jericho had a show on WWE. Okay, CM Punk didn't. But CM Punk was the pipe bomb, which he let everybody know, and he spoke the truth. And what is going on even today, every wrestler that left the company that has something to say goes back to what CM Punk had already mentioned, So he is the guy. He is the truth. So in my opinion and my vote, I choose CM Punk over Chris Jericho.
Hey, OV, you just made the list.
Oh, for a second. Let me get damn it. My kids took it. Factor, your final words.
I hear both sides, and I agree with both of you guys. But when you talk about realism, CM Punk brought that to the table. A lot of it, I understand, WWE wrestling organization is, we do a lot of the script, you know what I'm saying? But when CM Punk got on that mic, he got the audience because he brought realism to it. Whether or not it was right for him to do what he said, say what he said on the mic, but it just commanded the attention. It drew you in, like, okay, what is next coming out of his mouth, And he owned Chris Jericho, period, in the ring, hands down. You look at the record, even as champion, Chris Jericho could not beat him for the WWE title. So Chris Jericho is a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong, he's a great legend. Grand Slam champion. He's got more titles under his belt than CM Punk. But to me, I don't think that was all about CM Punk. That wasn't his style. CM Punk having, great matches with John Cena. And like you said, Obi, even with him not even in the business anymore, people still chant his name, So that just, to me, gives it the edge to CM Punk in this one over Chris Jericho. Nothing away from Jericho, but I give it to CM Punk on this one.
I know Tyler is still in disagreement, but I want to add something to it, Hector, that you just mentioned. And that is, he went out of his way and who knows what the real story is, because we will never know the real story. You know, you only say stories for people to listen, to grab the attention of what had happened. But he, in my opinion, I think he broke script to where there was a time when they turned off his microphone because he started rattling, rambling about Vince McMahon. And that hit news. That hit, all right, national news. And to do something like that.
Wait a minute. You think that wasn't part of the script?
Whether it's script or not script, I'm not saying anything. But when it hit news, national news, I'm talking about ABC News, Fox News, CNN, and everything else. When they start talking about that, you know, that speaks volume. You know what I'm saying? And what other superstar has ever done that?
Met The Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold, John Cena, Randy Orton, Chris Jericho.
What did they say? Oh, right. Okay, minus probably I give credit to Triple H because of the time where they conquered WCW. That hit national news. All right. But other than that, no one's ever spoken the way it was spoken, the way CM Punk has. I'm talking about making it to national news. I'm talking about a conversation that was debatable outside of wrestling, and that's what CM Punk had done. We got Frank back on here. Frank, you want to chime in? Chris Jericho and CM Punk. Who would you had as? Who was your pick?
CM Punk, the voice of the voiceless. You know, I mean, I was hearing through Facebook everybody's, you know, reason and whatnot or the other. I mean, look, I agree. Chris Jericho is up there. He's there. You know, the Ayatollah. You know, but CM Punk has done stuff, and up to this day, people want him back. People want CM Punk back. My opinion, Jericho leaves, we're not going to want him back. He's already done what he's had to do.
I don't agree with you there. Chris Jericho could leave AEW and still find his way back to WWE.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying he can't. But will we be chanting his name, 7 years later? You know? So
absolutely. Granted, yes, you're absolutely right. With the current situation now with CM Punk, yes, and who knows, he may be making a comeback with just rumors about that. But hey, we have CM Punk advances to the Sweet 16, and that leads us to Seth Rollins versus the Ultimate Warrior. Now, Hector, this is an interesting match that we got here because of the fact that last time you stated that, you know, the Ultimate Warrior, nobody really actually defeated the Ultimate Warrior except for the only way of disqualification, interferences, and stuff like that. But then you got Seth Rollins, who's been a world champion, who's defeated Brock Lesnar twice. Okay. Do you see anything different here? Can Seth Rollins advance and pass the Ultimate Warrior?
I love the Ultimate Warrior. I grew up watching him. But when we talk about these two different eras of wrestlers, you know, Seth Rollins always found a way of winning his matches and drawing that crowd in there. You know, I've always felt that he was the true leader of the Shield, even though that would seem like to be given to Dean Ambrose at that time. But when they broke off, man, Seth Rollins just started doing unbelievable things in the WWE, you know, on his own. And then to still come back for a brief second to reunite with his brothers and then go back to his singles competition stuff. And the things that he does is just unbelievable. You know, granted, the opportunities are given more now to the superstars of today than it was of yesteryear, like the Ultimate Warrior. But granted, Ultimate Warrior has defeated almost everybody he stepped in the ring with in his era, but yet could not win all the titles. You know, he never won a tag team title. You know, here's a man who you could not beat, but you could not put the tag titles around his waist. Well, whatever the case may be, if these two were to face each other, Seth Rollins will find a way of beating the Ultimate Warrior. You know what I'm saying? He probably won't be able to do it fair and square, but he will find a way, just like he's done with Brock Lesnar. You know what I'm saying? So, and Seth Rollins is just so decorated. I mean, we don't even need to go into all the stuff that he has done and the winning record. I mean, they both got winning records at WrestleMania, but Seth Rollins is still going on, with his career right now. So I'm giving this one to Seth Rollins.
And my favorite part of Seth Rollins is when he went and cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. I mean, who would have ever saw that coming?
No one.
No one whatsoever. And who knows what other surprises can happen after this Money in the Bank that's happening on May 10th. So, hey, if you're tuning in, make sure you get the WWE Network, which is free for the first month. That's right. It's May 10th, Sunday night. Starts at 7 o'clock Eastern time. The men and the women's are going to go simultaneously and compete to get the briefcase. But with that note, I too picked Seth Rollins to advance, and the same criteria that Hector you was mentioning. Frank, who is your take on this match?
It's going to be very simple. All right. The Mania Madness Messiah. Those are the Messiah. Seth Rollins.
Well, I would not have picked the Messiah to win it all. But if you would have said the Architect, then you would have had me convinced.
Hey, okay, fine. That's freaking
Rollins. Fired right now, then I don't want to speak to you right now. No, let's mute you, and we'll just carry on with the last week of Tyler Bard.
Hello. Yeah, this is pretty easy, guys. I was convinced last time that the Ultimate Warrior shouldn't move on, so they made it easier for me this time with it being against Seth Rollins. One of the greatest factions with the Shield, one of the greatest debuts with the Shield. He's the Architect. He's going to burn it down, and he's the Monday Night Messiah. It's an easy win here for Seth Rollins.
So unanimously, Seth Rollins advances, and he will actually face CM Punk in the next round in the Sweet 16. Our next match, it was a little bit sensitive, but I think we could leave off of anything that's happened outside the ring and focus in ring. And that's not only Chris Benoit versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Either way, it's easy.
If you say so. I didn't have these two in this matchup. Of hopefully, if I'm reading this correctly, actually no, I was wrong. I did have these two in the matchup. I was a little bit ahead of myself. They have identical stats. That's what I've seen. However, Austin had longevity in life, despite of what happened to Benoit. Stone Cold won more world titles than Chris Benoit, 6-1. But Benoit, he was a 4-time Intercontinental Champion, while Stone Cold won it twice. But as all, if for what we have seen, you got to be an Intercontinental Champion, get a warm up there before you advance to the world title. And that has been that way as of late. It hasn't, but head to head, Steve Austin defeated him 3-0, and my vote goes to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Tyler?
Yeah, this is a pretty simple one for me. The Attitude Era, the face of the Attitude Era is Stone Cold Steve Austin. There is no Attitude Era without Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's no amazing Monday Night Wars without Stone Cold and DX, obviously. So Stone Cold Steve Austin defined an entire era of the WWF, WWE. And Chris Benoit, yes, was a part of that. Absolutely. To his own right. But without Stone Cold, WCW may have had an entire edge over WWF.
Okay. Frank?
Stone Cold. That's what it is. It's Stone Cold because that's the bottom line. Chris Benoit, to me, it is what it is. I don't want to comment about him anymore.
All right. Hector, go ahead.
Yeah, I give it to Steve Austin. I mean, Chris Benoit was a great wrestler, a great submission wrestler at that. If it came down to that, of course, give it to Chris Benoit. But Stone Cold, man, overall, the great matches he's had in the Attitude Era, what he defined in the Attitude Era, against The Rock, The Undertaker, Triple H, Kurt Angle. I mean, this just goes on and on and on. And, not to mention the likes of doing something that no superstar has ever done, winning the Royal Rumble 3 times. I mean, good Lord. So I give this to Steve Austin hands down.
All right. Unanimously, we have Steve Austin in there. And we have one more spot in the Sweet 16, and that is Mick Foley versus The Miz. Now, and this one, I had Shane McMahon facing Mick Foley, and there would have been a big difference here. So without anything, without a doubt, I'm choosing Mick Foley on this. But yeah, I got them heads shaking, baby, and I like it. But Frank, I'm gonna start with you. Come on, man. Let me have it. Let me hear it, man. Give me some valid points on this.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. We have our wonderful friend, The Miz, the A-lister. Hold on a second, there we are.
Oh man, you're supposed to have your picks already, man.
No, I got my picks.
Did you get it wrong? Now you got to fix yourself.
No. I got my picks. It's pretty much my computer from the whole startup still going up. But either way, you have Mick Foley. He's been 3-time champion, 1-time hardcore, 8-time tag team champions.
And I let you forget that he was the inaugural champion in the hardcore title.
Correct, he was. Then we come down to Miz over here. Miz is 1-time WWE champion, 8 times Intercontinental champion, 2-time United States champion, 4 times WWE tag team champions, and name everything else. I mean, hell, it has to go to the Miz, has to go to the A-lister.
Okay, you say the A-lister. All right. But this is the same guy that can't defeat Shane McMahon, but Mick Foley command.
Oh my God, here we go. Here we go, Shane McMahon, this guy. Talking about a guy who's not even a wrestler.
Exactly. That's the most embarrassing part. Not even a wrestler still defeating The Miz.
But his daddy owns the company, so of course,
Michael Cole has 3 wins under his belt. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but Hector, you let me know what's going on. Go ahead.
There's a whole lot of differences going on. I'll tell you that right now. Look, I get it. I get what you're saying, man. He couldn't beat Shane McMahon, but you know what? Who cares? The list of accomplishments that The Miz has gotten is just unbelievable. Okay, now I take nothing away from Mick Foley, man. This guy is, I don't know, you want to call him tripolar, I guess. All different types of personalities, and so successful for each and every single one of them. I mean, when you talk about hardcore, you have to think about Mick Foley or Cactus Jack, maybe Mankind. Not so much Dude Love, but I mean, with the multi-personalities, and he can make it work. It's just unbelievable. I take nothing away from that. People love it. A man who's willing to put his body physically on the line just to entertain the crowd. It is just unbelievable. The punishment that he's taken, the body limbs that he's lost, piece of his ear, his teeth. I mean, it's getting slammed on thumbtacks and everything. It's just, I don't take nothing away from that, man. But pure wrestling, I mean, in the ring, the accomplishments that The Miz got, I'm giving it a slight edge to The Miz here. I mean, if this was like a hardcore match between the two, yeah, Mankind probably will bury him 50 feet under the ground. But I just like the way The Miz, just commands the attention of the crowd, when he gets on that mic, like, really?
When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut.
That's it, So I'm giving this one to The Miz. But I love Mick Foley. He's great. And I don't think there's anybody going to be able to do what he's done 4 times with 4 different people. But
no, for sure.
I give it to The Miz on this one.
Okay. Hey, man, I'm not hating on The Miz. I am not hating on The Miz. I'm just calling it the way it is. I'm just going to get a t-shirt and I'm going to put my A-lister shirt on because he is truly the number 2 seed of that region. And I feel like he's sliding through instead of winning unanimously. But hey,
dude, there is a dominating aspect to The Miz that made me love The Miz. And it was when he cut that promo on Daniel Bryan on Backstage, or whatever that SmackDown Backstage show was, the post show, when Daniel Bryan called him like a part-time lazy champion. And he cut that incredible promo on Daniel Bryan, where Daniel Bryan actually had to leave because he thought he was going to legitimately punch The Miz in the face. That was one of the most impassioned speeches I've ever heard. And I don't think all of that was scripted. I think he was supposed to go off on Daniel Bryan, but I think Daniel Bryan pissed him off. And he was like, all right, you want to play? And he cut one of the greatest promos that I've ever seen. And from that moment, I used to be wishy-washy with The Miz. From that moment, he became the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time and one of the greatest on the mic. He is incredible compared to Mick Foley.
Okay. Great point there, and you're absolutely right. They lost their cool on that one, and wow. Of The Miz, but The Miz is a type of wrestler that was still everybody's move and use it to his advantage, and
absolutely
he's second for it. So, and my hats off goes to The Miz, even though he still didn't beat Shane McMahon, man. That's all to it. But hey, let's move right along. Let's do a recap of what's happening on the next episode once we cover the Mania Challenge 2020. And we start out with the East. We have Edge versus Shawn Michaels. We have Bautista versus The Big Show. We just covered the West with CM Punk versus Seth Rollins and Steve Austin versus The Miz. And we move over to the Midwest. We have John Cena versus The Rock. And we have a triple threat match between Bret Hart, Kane, and Ric Flair. And lastly, we have the South. We have Triple H versus The Undertaker and Rey Mysterio versus Daniel Bryan. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my listeners, thank you once again for listening to the Hard Hittin' Wrestling Show. This Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube, we will have the Money in the Bank prediction show. That's right. May 10th will be the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. If you want to join us and put your picks in, please do. The more the merrier as we get set for our first pay-per-view match after WrestleMania to determine who is going to be the hard-hitting wrestling champion. All right. We will still have Hector V, Frank, and Tyler Bard with us. Hopefully we'll get a special guest. If not, of course, we will continue the show. But once again, thank you as we'll get ready for our close. Don't forget to visit us at hhwshow.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at OVMuniz, or again on YouTube or Facebook. You can like us, follow us, and subscribe. This is all but sports entertainment. And once again, thank you. Take care, everyone.
Be sure to visit hhwshow.com, where you can find all the Clovercrest Media sports shows, including the Hard Hittin' Wrestling Show, All Four Downs, and Keys to the City. If you ever want to do a podcast, this is the place to do it. Starting at just $15 a month, you can get unlimited hosting and $50 for full service. Visit clovercrestmedia.com for more information.
A big thank you to the StreamYard for their fine streaming service. For Tyler Bard, Frank Cuesta, and Hector Vasquez, I am Ovi Muniz. Thank you for listening to the Hard Hittin' Wrestling Show.